Shout out to Tokyo Treat and Sakura for sponsoring this video. Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm drawing two of my viewers' gacha characters. It's been several months since I last did this and many of you have been wanting me to do it again. So here we are. I made a YouTube short announcing that I would be doing this. Also from now on, I'll probably be announcing things in shorts. They seem to be a good way to tell you all that I'm going to be doing something. So if you want to know when I'll be doing stuff like drawing your characters or special things that involve all of you, keep an eye on my shorts page and maybe turn on notifications. Anyways, hundreds of characters were submitted for me to possibly draw, so let's see who I'm drawing first. Oh, real quick, I wanted to let you all know I posted a new chapter of my webcomic on my webcomic channel. It's the longest chapter I've made in a while, so I recommend checking it out. This character is created by Live Pink and their name is Bella. Bella is a 17-year-old girl that likes to make songs and post them online. She's a really good singer and everyone loves her voice. So let's start drawing Bella. Since Bella is a singer, I thought I should draw her singing. I've done this in the past with characters, but I always felt like it didn't look like they were singing very much. So to make things very obvious, I decided to have Bella hold a microphone. I was a little nervous to draw a microphone. I think I've done it like twice before. Once a really long time ago, and another time a couple years ago for a different gacha character video. So it is something I have less practice in when it comes to drawing. Plus the texture on them is always complicated. For the other arm, I'm going to have it down and in a sort of open pose. I was just trying to make something that looked singy, if that makes sense. Being that this is my first initial sketch, it is very rough and loose. But it was so loose that I felt like it would be tricky to work with. So to refine things, I erased parts of the sketch that I don't need, transformed parts, and used the liquify tool to push things to where I want them. And also redrew some spots to refine the shape. This made it so I didn't have to do another sketch before my cleanup sketch. For some reason I often forget it's an option to just clean up the sketch I drew on the same layer that I drew it on. And it worked really well in this case. I don't want to make you completely watch the cleanup process for this sketch, but I will show you the highlights on anything I find interesting. When it comes to gacha characters, I don't always mimic the same iris style, but I did really like how Bella had heart-shaped pupils, so I decided to do the same in my drawing. I actually almost forgot, so I'm happy I remembered. Here I'm drawing the shirt and the cardigan. I always have to Google which side overlaps when it comes to sweaters and button-up shirts, because the buttons go on different sides depending on if it's a guy's shirt or a girl's shirt. And no matter how many times I search it, I always forget. So now here's some footage of the hands. I don't know, I always find watching people draw hands to be interesting, so I figured you might too. When I was sketching this hand in my rough sketch, I was having an issue deciding on a pose. I wanted something kind of open, but not too open. I wanted the hand to look relaxed and not like jazz hands. Thankfully, sketching the pose once it was decided wasn't too tricky, but I did decide to add fingernails again this time. I didn't used to add fingernails, but I felt the need to recently, but only sometimes. It's not a consistent thing. Sometimes I'll add fingernails to characters and sometimes I won't. The hand holding the mic was definitely a lot more tricky to draw. You have to think about how the fingers are wrapping around and holding the mic, as well as keeping the proportions in mind. For poses like this, I have a tendency to want to make the fingers really long. I kept trying to dial them back a bit. I do like to draw fingers on the longer side when it comes to stylizing them, so it's okay if they're a bit long, I just don't want them to look weirdly long. Also, I made a second version of the mic that fits better in the hand, but that for some reason was not in my footage. Sorry about that. Now for the line art, I'll show you some slow footage of some of the process since many of you like seeing some slower footage and I also find it satisfying. Many people ask what brush I use and I do often say, but people seem to often miss it. And the brush I use is the AA ink brush. I downloaded it from the Clip Studio Paint asset library. I really like it because it has a subtle texture to it, but the texture doesn't get in the way of me being able to easily use the paint bucket tool to fill in my base colors, because sometimes when a pen has too much texture, it becomes hard to fill in using the paint bucket tool because the brush has like little transparent bits within it. So then it can be hard to fill in using the paint bucket tool and you have to fill those areas in with a brush. But being that this is solid in the middle with just kind of some texture around the outside edge, it works really well along with the paint bucket tool. Plus I really like how this brush tapers and has a variety in its line quality. I did edit the brush to fit my own preferences. I had to do a good amount of tweaking into the pressure levels and how it tapers to make it to my liking. Now that the line art and base colors are done, I'm going to get the background in place. I didn't have much of an idea in mind for it, so I wanted to get it out of the way. Plus I didn't feel like working on a white canvas the whole time. I kept things pretty simple. I added these kind of music bar things to the bottom of the picture, a star behind Bella to draw our attention to her face and head area, and made the background a light purple. I decided to make the background mostly purple because I thought it'd be cute if all of Bella's pink in her design. So to start out, I was going to add the cell shaded shading, and I get sidetracked a little bit later. I wanted the coloring overall to feel very bright and vibrant, so I'm using very saturated colors set to multiply, like this vibrant purple. Once I get the shadows the way I want, I lock the transparency and apply different colors, like a more pink color around the outer edges where I want it to get a bit lighter, and a more blue color in the darker areas. This is a super easy way to give shadows variety, especially since I don't have to worry about my color going outside of the shadow areas, since I locked the transparency of the layer. I was going to start doing the same with the sweater. I was adding the shadow to the torso to help define its form and how the light was hitting it. But as I was forming the shadow and whatnot, I kind of just ended up shading the entire sweater. For shading the sweater, I actually went about it in a way where I take away shadow instead of applying it. I applied the shadow all over the sweater and erased where I didn't want it. For some reason, this is sometimes easier for my brain to comprehend and work with. Instead of doing a bunch of shading, I'm kind of chiseling away what I want to get rid of. This works to an extent, especially for softer edge shadows, but I do need to go back in with slightly darker colors to add shadows I want to have more form and an edge to them. I added this batch of shadows to deepen areas I want to be darker, like around the armpit, and also add more form to folds and wrinkles. A lot of people will ask me how to shade white objects because they're not sure what color to use, or they often go with gray. You can actually shade white with basically any color you want. I often choose colors for white based on what mostly goes with the rest of the colors for the picture. In this case I went with purple. I could have gone with pink, but I wanted to go with something a little on the cooler side. You probably have noticed that I tend to apply my shadows darker and then lighten them by lowering the opacity. This is something I often do. I find it easier to go in very dark with a color so I can easily see its form and shape and then lighten it to my liking. Plus it helps me to be more bold with my choices and not apply things too lightly. It's often a problem I have with my traditional art, since I can't just apply things dark and then lower the opacity. I tend to keep things a bit too light for my traditional art. There was a lot of hair to color for this illustration, so to save time, I'm only going to show you the footage for one section. So to start, I'm doing like I did for the sweater. I applied a bunch of shadows and am erasing sections where I don't want shadow to be. This gives the hair more form and divides it into the different groups. I had added the cell shading earlier, but now I'm adding some more shadows that I blend out a bit to help define the forms and give them more of an edge. It's good to have a mixture of hard and soft edge shadows. I add some gradients to make things fancier and portray the lighting a little bit more. Next, for the highlight, I drew a band of color set to add glow across the hair and erase sections where there is shadow. Then I take the blending tool and blend out the shape to match the hair. I'll also use a soft eraser to blend out the edges. The added highlight did help, but to make things look extra shiny, I add some hard edged highlights, and to make them feel kind of cute, I make some of them circular in shape. For the eyes, I had originally selected the exact color from the Gacha character, but it was feeling a bit too vibrant, so I brought the saturation down a bit so it's easier to work with. I applied shading to the top like I usually do, and to make things feel more detailed, I added some dots of varying sizes to the middle area of the irises. I like how the character had a larger highlight with a small highlight attached to it, so I did the same. I feel like it gives the eyes a cute look. A lot of times I randomly pick characters, but this time I picked the characters myself because I wanted to choose characters that looked really fun for me to draw. I picked Bella because she looked so cute, and I thought her colors would be super fun to work with. Oh, also for the texture on the mic, I found a special brush and it was so helpful. I did need to liquefy it to help it match the form, but I feel like it turned out well and it was much faster than having to draw it myself. So here's my finished picture of Bella. Thank you so much, Live Pink, for letting me draw her. She is a very cute character and I love drawing her. I hope you like how the picture turned out. Thank you to Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co for sponsoring this video. Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co want to share Japanese culture and invite everyone to experience Japan from the comfort of their own homes through their snack boxes. Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co are both monthly Japanese snack subscription boxes, but both offer different experiences. This month they are both celebrating the arrival of spring of Sakura-themed boxes. First we have Tokyo Treat with the theme of Picnic Party. You'll get up to 20 of the latest, most exclusive, limited edition, and seasonal flavored Japanese snacks that are only available in Japan for a limited time. Spring is here, so get a taste of cherry blossom season with Sakura Senpai. Peach Kit Kat, Sakura Manju, and so much more. You can learn more about all the snacks you receive as well as allergen information in this really neat booklet. The booklet also contains a ton of really cool facts about Japanese culture. Two of my personal favorite snacks from this box are the Sakura Matcha Cookie Bites and Ghana Truffle Cake Bites. These little cookie bites combine the lovely flavors of Sakura and matcha. The slightly bitter crisp matcha cookie layer and sweet Sakura creamy filling match perfectly together. These Ghana chocolate cake bites are packed with chocolate flavor and perfect to share with friends. Or, you know, keep them for yourself. Next, let's take a look at Sakura Co. If you're looking for an authentic Japanese snack subscription box, this one's for you. Each box comes with 20 traditional and authentic artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese teas and one special Japanese tableware. Sakura Co. is partnering with local Japanese snack makers to continue to share Japanese culture and traditions that have been passed down for over 100 years. This box's theme is Arrival of Sakura and looks into the history of Hanami, the yearly celebration of cherry blossom in Japan. Experience artisan Japanese treats like Sakura Castella, Sakura Soft Chew, Sweet Sakura Tea, and so much more. This month's kitchenware is a Sakura springtime dish. There are two designs and this is the one I got. It's so adorable. Two of my favorite snacks from this are the Sakura shortbread cookies and Sakura mochi. These shortbread cookies are filled with the Sakura jam. I love shortbread and these did not disappoint. The Sakura jam in the middle was super sweet and yummy. I love mochi, so I was super excited to see some that was Sakura flavored, and I have to say it was so good. The Sakura flavor offered a slight sweetness that wasn't overwhelming. It perfectly matched the super soft texture of the mochi. I wish I had more. On the Sakura Co website, if you use the code Hanami, you get an additional bonus item in your Sakura Co boxes for life. You can also use my code DRAWMANGA to get $5 off your first box. These boxes make a perfect gift for a loved one or as a special treat for yourself. Thank you so much again to Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to drawing. This character was created by Mudita. Her name is Hanabi and she is 19 years old. She is water spirit but was previously a human. Hanabi used to be a normal high school girl, but sadly she passed away in an unfortunate fire accident. The gods turned her into a water spirit who has the ability to control water and shapeshift into water. So let's start drawing Hanabi. Something I found interesting about Hanabi was her water wings, and they were something I wanted to focus on for this illustration. Because I will mostly use white for the water wings, I knew I needed the background to be on the darker side. I decided to paint in a rock pattern. My idea is that Hanabi is in a water cave of some sort. I'm not sure why, but for my first sketch of Hanabi, I decided to sketch the shapes with her different colors. I was thinking about doing a more digital painting kind of process for this picture, so that may be why I decided to sketch like this. Plus I wanted to get a feel for the colors. I wanted to focus more on the atmosphere and setting, so I'm going to keep this pose very simple. The last illustration focused more on the pose and the character herself, but this time I wanted to dedicate my attention elsewhere. I lowered the opacity of everything and jumped into a cleanup sketch. Like I mentioned, I plan to go with a more digital painting process for this picture. What digital painting often looks like for me is that I get my sketch and some of the coloring in place, but then once I want to start rendering and cleaning things up more, I merge all my layers and start painting over my drawing to clean it up. The reason I chose a digital painting process for this picture is because I knew I kind of needed to go with a painterly look for the wings. So to help keep things consistent, I also needed to go with a painty style for the character. Because the wings were the part I was more nervous about, I decided to get them out of the way first. I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time on the character and then realize, oh, I actually can't paint water wings. In my initial sketch, I drew the wings kind of like the pattern you see when looking at the ocean, but I also had the idea to make them be flowing like a waterfall. I thought I would give this a try, and if I didn't like it, I would try my other idea. So I had sketched out the shape of the wings, faded out the bottom, and added a bunch of particles. My concept is that the wings kind of disperse along the bottom. Then I took the blending tool and blended out the wings to give them a flowing effect. Also, to help me keep my lines parallel, I use this parallel line ruler. It makes it so the lines I draw snap to the same degree, and it was super helpful for this. I didn't want my lines being slightly different in the way they were going. I wanted them to flow nicely at the same degree, so this was really nice to use. To help define the shapes more, I blended the edges into the lines I drew, and also added some breaks in the water. I don't know, I guess I just thought it looked kind of neat. I kind of did it on a whim and I kind of just kept going with it. I was thinking of trying to render the water almost how I rendered the icicles in this picture, because when you look at still frames of water, they kind of look like icicles. but I wanted the water to look like it had motion to it, so I tried to be more stylistic with it and give it motion. Plus its magical water wings, I think I can stylize things a little bit. At this point, I was pleased with the wings and felt like I could move on to the character. I'm starting by applying the basic shadows and getting a general idea for the lighting. I haven't merged my layers yet right now. I'm kind of doing everything I want to do, or that's kind of easier to do before merging. When it comes to digital painting, I'm never totally sure how long I should wait until I merge my layers. I want to wait long enough so it's not too tricky to do some things. But if I wait too long, I won't achieve the digital painting look. It won't have the texture or feel I want to achieve if I wait too long to merge everything and blend things together. But eventually I do need to jump in and merge my layers. I do want to make it clear that I make a backup with all my layers in a folder. That way if I do something to ruin the picture, I have a place I can restart from. I don't just merge all my layers and hope for the best, I make a backup. Before merging though, I did want to get rid of the headpiece and make there be one on its own layer that I won't merge with the rest of the character. It sounded like a pain to try to paint around all those little details when working on the hair, so I kept them separate. Okay, now my layers are all merged and we can begin cleanup. Something I've talked about with other digital painting illustrations I've done is that it's very hard to talk about my digital painting process. The reason is that it's more all over the place compared to my usual process. With my usual process, I'm usually not jumping around too much. I do a little, but I'm doing such tiny things when I'm jumping around, it often gets cut from my drawing footage. Simply put, my usual drawing process is easier to talk about because I'm not jumping between different parts. However, for digital painting, I'm doing a lot more moving around. I see a spot that I feel like could be more refined. I select different colors and try to define the shapes and color more. And then I just keep repeating this throughout the picture until it feels done. Since it has been so long since I painted digitally, I was feeling a little bit lost. I kind of forgot what brushes I like to use, what settings, and so on. I had to do a lot of experimenting and kind of relearning. When I wanted to blend colors more, I would use the thin gouache brush and change its settings depending on if I was trying to add color or kind of just blend them around. If I wanted to add some color, I would turn the amount and density sliders up, but if I was trying to kind of just blend or not add much color, I would turn them down. If I wanted to blend a bit more smoothly, I would use the blending tool. And if I wanted to completely paint over without the colors blending, I would use the soft airbrush, often set to a harder edge. Or I would set it to a soft edge to add a gradient. And if I wanted to completely paint over without the colors blending at all, I would use the soft airbrush, often set to a harder edge. Or I would set it to a soft edge if I wanted to add gradient. Hi, so this is extra audio I'm recording just in case future editing me needs more voiceover to go along with the footage. I don't know if I'll need to use this or not, but hi. What should I talk about? I've been playing Stardew Valley again, and it's really fun. I've actually been playing modded Stardew Valley because I played Stardew Valley a ton on my Switch, like way too much. And I've been wanting to play it again, but whenever I would try to start a new file, it felt kind of boring because it was kind of just the same thing again that I did before. But I got a whole bunch of mods like Stardew Valley Extended, and some other mods. I can't totally remember what all I got, but it makes the gameplay a little bit different and a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying playing it again. Oh, I did get a mod that makes all the characters look like little cute chibis, and they're so adorable. It's super cute. But yeah, my siblings have also been watching me play it, and now they want to play it. My sister Ruth got it, so she's gonna start playing it. But yeah, I love Stardew Valley. I probably shouldn't have gotten into it again because I want to play it so much, but I should be working. I'm trying to limit myself to 2 Stardew Valley days a day, or like only playing for an hour or so because I do have other stuff I should be doing. But like, it's just such a nice, chill, relaxing game to play. So yeah, I've been enjoying that. Okay, so now back to the original audio. One part that was tricky was rendering the face. Once again, I'm doing a face that is being lit from below. Apparently, I just like torturing myself because I don't really like this lighting situation. The part I was having the most difficulty with was the nose. Since I was rendering the forms a bit more, I felt the urge to render the shape of the nose more. But you can see why I don't usually do that. My manga proportions with more real noses start to feel a bit funny, so I tried my best to keep the shapes more simple. One thing that did annoy me is that when I merged my layers, I forgot to change my sketch color. I sketched my sketch with black, and when I merged it, I didn't change the colors. I didn't really like the black sketch because it feels jarring next to the other colors. I was kind of irritated at myself for forgetting to change the colors of the sketch in different areas to better match the colors that were next to them. But I think it kind of ended up being a good thing. It encouraged me to paint over a lot of my sketch and made me try to get rid of as much of it as I could. So it resulted in a more finished look, I feel like, and also maybe a more painty look. I do always find it interesting how working in a different way gives my art a different feel. When it comes to digital painting, I always feel like my forms feel a bit different. And how I think of objects as a whole kind of shifts for some reason. These pictures both took me a little over 5 hours, so I had 10 hours of drawing footage. I haven't had that much drawing footage in a while. Sometimes I wonder if it'd be fun to make a video dedicated to just one picture and do a very in-depth explanation, because I often have to end up cutting a lot of footage to make multiple illustrations fit into a video. It kind of makes me sad how much footage I have to cut from this picture because I worked on it for a really long time and there's a lot of it that I want to show. But a lot of it does get kind of repetitive, so it doesn't really need to be shown. But like, there are some parts I want to talk more in depth about, but I just don't have time. So yeah, let me know if you want me to make a video where I just make one illustration and talk really in depth about it. For one of my last touches, I took a water texture, set it to add glow, and applied it onto Hanabi and the background. I wanted to help express the idea that she is by a body of water, and I feel like this is the touch that was needed. So here's my picture of Hanabi along with my picture of Bella. They were both a lot of fun to work on in their own ways. For Hanabi, I loved trying new things and techniques. Working on the water wings was really cool. And for Bella, I loved working with all of the pink and bright colors. Thank you so much to both creators for letting me draw their characters. And thank you so much to everyone that submitted characters for me to draw. I had so much fun looking through them. Also, thank you to my wonderful YouTube members and Patreon patrons for their support. It means so much to me. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!